This video is all about learning to read the fretboard for the guitar. So if you've got a diagram like this and you want to know how to read it on the guitar, here's a couple of tips on how. So the first thing I always consider is that looking at this like it's a guitar headstock. Here it makes it a little bit easier to understand that these are the strings, these vertical lines, and we have 6 of them. We have string number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now keep in mind that string number 1 is actually what would be closest to the ground when you play. That's our highest sounding E string. This is actually our thickest string here, our lowest E, which is closest towards basically your chin as you play. On the right hand side here, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to number. These would be our frets. As you can see, we have fret number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. Sometimes you might have 6, 7, 8. So in the instance that you see there is a dot here, what it's telling you to do is it's telling you to play the first string, 3rd fret. If there was a dot here, on the other hand, this would be telling me to play the 2nd fret on the 4th string. And I'd only be playing that one note because there are no other signals to tell me to play more than one note at a time. Now at the top here, I've made this line just a little bit thicker, and that's to represent the nut of the guitar. Anything drawn behind this tells me whether or not to play the string open or not. So as you can see, I have an O at the top here, over the top of the 2nd string. That would mean I would play the 2nd string open, therefore not using my left hand if I'm a right-handed guitarist. Now if you see in this diagram here, you can see that I actually have 3 dots and an open string drawn on the 4th string. These 3 dots would mean that I would be playing them all at once with that open string. So I would use one finger to play the 2nd fret of the 1st string, one finger to play the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, one finger to play the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and play the 4th string open. Because it is drawn all on the one diagram, this would be played as a chord. That means all of my notes would be played at one time. In this example, there is nothing drawn over the 5th and 6th strings. That would tell me not to play those strings. Sometimes you'll also see people write an X. That X means not to play those 2 strings. This is an example of a chord diagram. Now sometimes diagrams will have even more detail than that. As you can see on this one, I have actually numbers on my frets and strings. So here, these numbers, just to add a little bit more confusion to the mix, would tell me here that I would use my 1st finger to play that note, which is the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. This one down the bottom, I would use my 2nd finger, and lastly, I would use my 3rd finger for this one here. I'd still play this one open, and I still wouldn't play these 2 strings. I would therefore have only one remaining finger that I wouldn't be using, which is my 4th finger. So next time you're trying to read one of these, use some of those tips in mind and see how you go.